Hello and welcome to my video lecture on, or continuing my video lecture on sending data from an HTML form to a PHP form. Uh, so what we've done so far is we've got our HTML file. This is our index HTML file in our PHP project. We've set up the form, we've set up a header, we've used a div element to display some instructions for the user, and then we've got our form, our HTML form. Inside our HTML form we've got our labels and our inputs. In this case I've got one for first name, one for last name, one for an email address, and then I've got to submit. I want to add a little white space just to really distinguish the difference between my data entry elements and my input element that's going to actually send the data. So my form is set up. The name of it's data entry. Right now I'm using the get method, and I'm sending my information to display PHP file. Display PHP file is simply going to get my data out of my get array using string indexes. In this case, the way you use the string index is you reference the name of the control that passed the data. So in this case, I have my input here, and I named it first name. When the get method is called and sends data to display PHP file will then have access to what's known as a get array on the web server, in this case Apache, and it references the get array using string indexes associated with those control names. I am here taking the data out of the array and I'm putting it into local variables. I have ended each of these PHP statements with a semicolon, which has gotten rid of my error from the previous video. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to echo out these values onto the screen. I can echo out I can, since I'm in PHP, I can use HTML tagging inside of there, but for now I'm just going to leave it as echoes. And what I want you to see is when we save this and we refresh this page and then we submit, you can see that I get my URL has first name and the value from the first name control input element. Then I've got my last name, the value from last name, the email, and then the value from the email, and then the value from the submit button is also passed, which I'm not referencing at this point. And what I get here is I get Michael Devlin junk, and it's all put together because I'm not really parsing it out in any way. And now what I want to show you is how different that is when we use a different method. So the get method is not real secure. So if I'm passing passwords or I want to pass a lot of data, the get method is probably not what I want to use. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to use what's known as the post method. And then what I have to do is this is no longer going to be the get array. This is going to be the post array. Since I'm using a different method, it creates and uses a different array. So I simply change my reference from the get array to the post array. The rest of this doesn't change. So I'm still going to reference it using the string indexes. It's just a different array getting put into my local variables. I'm going to echo them out. And what I can do here, so just do save all. And I go back to my index page. I'm going to refresh it to make sure it's got the changes. And then when I submit, the biggest difference, again, we'll get into the formatting of this later, but the biggest difference here is that the URL does not contain any of the information being passed. The information being passed is being passed only within the web server and the arrays. So again, that's just the difference between a post array and a get array. Passing the data is pretty much still the same. It's just how private it is. And there you have it.